crowded, emails already dinging. The grind don't wait, and the world telling you if you don't chase it, you gonna lose it. Everybody hustling, everybody running, everybody trying to stack something. And you feel that weight too. The deadlines, the side hustles, the bills knocking, the dream calling. But here's the truth. Culture glorifies grind like it's the source of success. It'll tell you, sleep when you dead, keep pushing till you break, work harder than the next man or you gonna fall behind. That's the gospel of burnout. And if you swallow it whole, you end up tired, bitter, empty, even if you hit the goals. Kingdom flips it different. In the kingdom, grind ain't the God, grace is. You still work, you still push, you still grind, but it ain't by might, it ain't by power, it's by his spirit. Grace don't cancel grind, it fuels it. Grace takes your ordinary effort and puts extraordinary favor on it. Grace multiplies what your hands can't manage by themselves. That's the hustler's gospel. Not grind till you gone, but grind covered by grace. Not work just to prove your worth, but work because your worth already secured. Not hustle just to stay alive, but hustle to steward what God already breathed into you. And when you walk in that mindset, you don't just chase the bag, you carry the blessing. So at 7 a.m., when the world telling you run faster, push harder, heaven whispering, move in grace. Grind, yes, but grind with God. Hustle, yes, but hustle with hope. And when grace fuels the grind, you don't burn out. You build up. You don't just survive, you thrive. That's grace in the grind. Fam, let's anchor this grind in the word. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. That's God co-signing hustle. Whatever work lands in your lap, whether it's a 9 to 5, a side hustle, a ministry, or a dream, you don't halfway it. You give it your all. Excellence is worship. Diligence is devotion. The grind itself can glorify God when your hands move with might. But hold up, 1 Corinthians 15:10 balances it. Paul said, by the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace to me was not without effect. No, I worked harder than all of them, yet not I, but the grace of God that was with me. See the remix? Paul was grinding. He put in hours, miles, effort. But he knew the power behind his hustle wasn't his own energy. It was grace. Grace made the grind effective. Grace gave the work weight. That's the tension we living in. Work hard, but rest in God's strength. Grind with all your might, but never forget it's his grace that makes your grind fruitful. Otherwise, you hustling in circles, exhausting yourself with no eternal return. Think of it like this. Ecclesiastes 9:10 is the fuel pedal. 1 Corinthians 15:10 is the GPS. One tells you to go all in, the other reminds you who's really driving. If you mash the pedal without grace, you crash. If you only talk grace without grind, you stall. But together, full effort, full dependence, you move in kingdom flow. Fam, this is the hustler's gospel. You grind, but you grind graced. You work, but not to earn love. You already loved. You hustle, but not to prove yourself. You already approved. Grace turns your labor from survival mode into sacred stewardship. That's how you win the day without losing your soul. Fam, you ever see a hustler running only on fumes and caffeine? Eyes bloodshot, hands shaking, mind racing, heart pounding. They moving fast, but inside they breaking down. It look like progress because they busy, but it's really burnout wearing a mask. That's the hustle culture lie. Pour everything out and call it success, even if it drains your soul dry. Picture it. Alarm rings, no prayer, no pause, no peace. just straight to the grind. Energy drinks for breakfast, deadlines for lunch, exhaustion for dinner. And by the time night falls, they done gave the world their best energy and left nothing for themselves, let alone God. That's not grinding smart, that's grinding yourself into the ground. See, caffeine can push your body, but it can't fuel your soul. Adrenaline can keep you awake, but it can't keep you whole. And when you running on empty inside, no amount of hustle outside gonna satisfy. You end up achieving but not living, winning on paper but losing in spirit. Now contrast that with grace. Grace don't tell you not to work. It tells you not to work alone. Grace says, you grind, I'll multiply. Grace says, you show up, I'll supply. Grace don't just keep you awake, it keeps you aligned. And when your grind flows from grace, you move steady, not scattered. You produce fruit, not just fatigue. Fam, let's be real. Some of us addicted to busyness because it feel like proof we matter. But busyness without grace is just bondage. And it's a hamster wheel that never stops. And God didn't call you to run yourself ragged. He called you to walk in purpose. So here's the lesson. Caffeine ain't enough. Culture ain't enough. Hustle by itself ain't enough. You need grace in the grind, because without it, the grind gonna grind you. But with it, the grind gonna grow you. Fam, think about a builder. He don't raise a skyscraper in a day. Oh, he don't slap bricks together fast and call it progress. He lays one brick, then another, steady, precise, consistent. And over time, the wall rises, the structure stands, the vision takes shape. Not by speed, but by faithfulness. That's the same with your grind. Culture glorifies overnight success, but the kingdom honors steady obedience. Hustle don't have to be frantic, it can be faithful. And when you add grace to that faithfulness, every brick you lay carries weight beyond your own strength. Grace multiplies consistency into legacy. Think of Noah building the ark. Day after day, hammering wood while people laughed. No flood yet, no rain yet, just obedience brick by brick, plank by plank. And when the storm finally came, what looked like wasted effort became salvation. That's what the grind looks like when grace fuels it. It looks slow to the world, but it's steady progress toward a promise. And here's what's wild. Consistency itself is spiritual warfare. The enemy thrives on discouragement. He whispers, this ain't working. Why keep trying? But every time you show up again, every time you put in another brick, every time you grind with grace, you're proving him wrong. Faithfulness is your resistance. Fam, don't despise the brick seasons. Don't look down on the small daily steps, because one day you're going to stand back and see the wall you built. Dreams realized, goals accomplished, faith grown, not because you rushed, but because you remained. And grace was in every brick. So here's the truth. Speed fades, hype fades, shortcuts crumble. But consistency, wrapped in grace, stands strong. Build slow, build steady, build faithful, and watch how God turns your grind into glory. Fam, let's talk entrepreneurs. They got the vision, the drive, the schedule stacked with meetings, calls, deadlines, late nights, early mornings. Hustle is the culture. They think if they ain't always moving, they ain't winning. But real growth don't just come from grinding harder. It comes from learning how to rest in grace. Picture it, a business owner burning out. Laptop open past midnight, alarm ringing at 5 a.m., body running on fumes. They proud of the hours, but the fruit don't match the sweat. Doors won't open, favor feel blocked, progress slow. Why? 'Cause hustle alone can't create harvest. Hustle without grace is just sweat with no blessing. Now flip it. Another entrepreneur pauses before the grind. They pray before they plan. They breathe before they build. They Sabbath before they sprint. They understand what Psalm 127 verse 1 says, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. They still work, still push, still grind. but their results stretch further because grace multiplies what effort alone never could. Think about farmers. They can plant, water, and till the soil, but they can't make the sun rise or the rain fall. That's grace's part. And if they grind without rest, they collapse. But if they trust the rhythm God set, work and rest, they see harvest. Same with you. Rest is not laziness, it's trust. It's saying, God, I know you can do more with my 6 days than I can do with 7. Fam, you don't win just because you never sleep. You win because you never stop depending. Rest ain't stopping the grind, it's protecting it. Grace don't erase hustle, it empowers it. And when you rest in him, you realize the bag ain't built by your burnout. It's secured by his blessing. So here's the remix. Don't just grind harder, grind smarter. And the smartest grind is grace-filled. Hustle, yes, but rest too. Because grace is the multiplier that makes your grind matter. Fam, let's pull the mask off hustle culture. It preaches like a gospel. If you ain't grinding, you ain't winning. Like your worth is measured by your exhaustion. Like the less you sleep, the more you succeed. Like being busy is the same as being blessed. But that's a lie dressed up as wisdom, and too many of us been drinking it straight. You see it everywhere, posts saying rise and grind or get left behind. Folks bragging about working 20 hours, like burnout is a badge of honor. But here's the truth. Hustle without grace just leaves you drained. You can work nonstop and still feel stuck. You can pile up checks and still feel empty. You can chase success and still lose your soul. Jesus already warned us. Mark 8:36 says, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul?" Hustle culture don't care about your soul. It only cares about your output. It'll use you till you dry and then replace you with somebody else. But kingdom culture, that's different. It says your value ain't in your grind. It's in your God. Your worth ain't tied to your work. It's tied to his love. Here's the danger. When you buy into hustle culture, you start wearing yourself out trying to prove something God already settled. You already loved. You already chosen. You already valuable. But hustle culture whispers, not enough. Work harder. And that cycle never ends. It's a treadmill with no finish line. Fam, hustle is real. Yes, you work hard. But hustle without grace is slavery. And the enemy loves to keep folks busy so they never realize they're bound. Grace don't cancel your grind. It frees it. It lifts the weight hustle culture try to put on your back. And when you start moving with grace, you stop working for approval and start working from approval. Fam, here's another lie hustle culture feeds us, that your identity equals your productivity. If you busy, you valuable. If you producing, you matter. If you successful, you somebody. But the moment you slow down, the moment the checks thin, the moment the numbers drop, you feel worthless. That's the trap. Think about it. How many times you introduce yourself by what you do instead of who you are? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a creator. I'm a builder. And ain't nothing wrong with titles, but when your identity gets tied to your output, you gon' crumble the moment life slows. Jobs change, seasons shift, markets crash, but who you are in God don't. See, Jesus got baptized in Matthew 3 before he healed anybody, before he preached a sermon, before he worked a miracle. God spoke, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Catch that. Identity came before productivity. Approval came before assignment. God said beloved before Jesus ever did ministry. That's grace, but hustle culture flips it. It says work harder so people notice you. Grind longer so you can prove your worth. Achieve more so you finally feel enough. And that cycle will keep you chasing applause while ignoring approval. You'll be exhausted trying to earn what God already gave. Here's the danger. If you only feel valuable when you producing, you'll never rest. You'll be scared to pause because you think rest equals irrelevance. But rest don't erase value. It reveals trust. When you rest, you declare, my worth ain't in my work, it's in my Father. Fam, your grind is a gift, but it ain't your identity. Your hustle is holy when grace fuels it, but it don't define you. God does. And when you work from identity instead of for identity, you stop hustling for validation and start grinding with freedom. Fam, let's talk about the anxiety that rides shotgun with hustle culture, the constant feeling of being behind. No matter how much you do, it never feels like enough. You scroll online and see somebody else buying a house, launching a business, hitting milestones, and suddenly your own grind feels small. You feel late, like you're missing your shot. That's the weight hustle culture throws on your chest. Here's the lie. It tells you life is a race against everybody else. That if they winning, you're losing. That if you ain't further by now, you failed. And that lie births anxiety so heavy, you start moving from panic, not purpose. You jump into projects you're not called to. You chase lanes that don't fit your gifts. You stretch yourself thin trying to catch up to shadows. And in the end, you burn energy without building destiny. But the kingdom don't work like that. Ecclesiastes 3 says, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. That means your grind got its own timetable. Your lane got its own rhythm. You not late, you just in process. And when grace fuels the grind, you realize progress is measured in obedience, not comparison. Think about Moses, called to deliver Israel, but he didn't even start the assignment till he was 80. So, by hustle culture's clock, he was washed up. But by God's clock, he was right on time. Or Joseph, betrayed, enslaved, imprisoned. Years passed before he saw the palace. But every step, every season was preparation. He wasn't behind, he was being built. Fam, anxiety gon' scream, you late, but grace gon' whisper, you right on time. And when you lean into grace, the pressure breaks. You stop rushing to compete and start resting in your lane. That's when peace returns. That's when clarity comes. That's when your grind stops draining you and starts developing you. So hear me, the grind fueled by comparison is slavery. But the grind fueled by grace is freedom. Don't run anxious, run anointed. Don't chase clocks, trust seasons. You not behind. You right where God has you and his grace is enough for the pace. Fam, let's be honest. What's success if you can't sleep at night? What's the point of stacking money, building platforms, gaining influence if your soul stay restless, your body stay exhausted, and your heart stay empty? That's the trap hustle culture don't tell you about. You can have everything you chased and still feel like you losing. Look at the world. Millionaires popping pills just to fall asleep. Celebrities with all the applause but no peace. Entrepreneurs posting wins online but crying in silence. 'Cause success without grace is hollow. You get the trophy, but it don't heal the tired in your spirit. You get the bag, but it don't fill the hole in your chest. Jesus asked it plain in Matthew 16:26. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Hustle culture got folks sacrificing family, health, joy, and sanity on the altar of grind. And when the dust settles, they realize they climbed the ladder, but it was leaning on the wrong wall. Here's the danger. You start thinking peace is a luxury you'll earn once you make it. But peace ain't a paycheck, it's a person. It ain't found at the end of the grind, it's found when grace enters the grind. Jesus said in John 14:27, my peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives. That means peace is not a bonus prize. It's part of the package when you walk with him. Fam, if your hustle taking your health, robbing your joy, stealing your peace, that ain't kingdom grind, that's bondage. Grace don't drain you, it sustains you. Grace don't leave you restless, it roots you. Grace don't hollow you out, it fills you. The grind without grace leaves you empty, but the grind with grace leaves you whole. So here's the truth. Success without peace is failure dressed in designer. But grace in the grind, that's wholeness. That's balance. That's prosperity of soul and spirit. Don't just chase wins, chase peace. Because if peace ain't in it, it ain't worth it. Fam, here's the shift. You don't got to choose between grind and grace. And it ain't either hustle hard or trust God. It's both. Grace don't cancel grind. It redefines it. You still work. You still sweat. You still push. But the weight that crushes others don't crush you because you're not carrying it alone. See, hustle culture tell you it's all on you. If you don't make it happen, it won't. If you don't stay up all night, you'll fall behind. If you don't keep hustling, the dream gonna die. That pressure is suffocating. But grace says, do your part and watch me multiply it. Grace says, plant the seed, I'll send the rain. Grace says, you move, but I'm the one who makes it matter. Think of Peter in Luke 5. He fished all night, grinding, sweating, hauling nets, nothing to show for it. Exhausted, empty-handed. Then Jesus steps in the boat, tells him to cast again. Same net, same sea, same fisherman, but this time grace in the grind, and the nets break from the catch. That's the difference. Grind alone leaves you empty. Grind with grace leaves you overflowing. Fam, this is your micro turning point. Stop treating grace like an add-on and start treating it like the engine. Grace don't mean you stop hustling. It means your hustle finally has breath in it. It means you can work hard without losing your soul. It means you can chase goals without being chased by anxiety. It means you can grind steady and still sleep in peace. So hear me? Yes, keep pushing. Yes, keep showing up. Yes, keep hustling. But don't do it empty. Invite grace into your grind. Because when you let grace define it, you stop striving for survival and start thriving in purpose. And that's the real win. Fam, here's the shift. You don't got to choose between grind and grace, and it ain't either hustle hard or trust God. It's both. Grace don't cancel grind. It redefines it. You still work. You still sweat. You still push. But the weight that crushes others don't crush you because you're not carrying it alone. See, hustle culture tell you it's all on you. If you don't make it happen, it won't. If you don't stay up all night, you'll fall behind. If you don't keep hustling, the dream gon' die. That pressure is suffocating. But grace says, do your part and watch me multiply it. Grace says, plant the seed, I'll send the rain. Grace says, you move, but I'm the one who makes it matter. Think of Peter in Luke 5. He fished all night, grinding, sweating, hauling nets, nothing to show for it. Exhausted, empty-handed. Then Jesus steps in the boat, tells him to cast again. Same net, same sea, same fisherman, but this time grace in the grind, and the nets break from the catch. That's the difference. Grind alone leaves you empty. Grind with grace leaves you overflowing. Fam, this is your micro turning point. Stop treating grace like an add-on and start treating it like the engine. Grace don't mean you stop hustling. It means your hustle finally has a breath in it. It means you can work hard without losing your soul. It means you can chase goals without being chased by anxiety. It means you can grind steady and still sleep in peace. So hear me. Yes, keep pushing. Yes, keep showing up. Yes, keep hustling. But don't do it empty. Invite grace into your grind. Because when you let grace define it, you stop striving for survival and start thriving in purpose. And that's the real win. Fam, let's tap into Paul's story. If anybody knew grind, it was him. Traveling city to city, planting churches, writing letters, preaching in synagogues, debating with philosophers, surviving shipwrecks, taking beatings, facing prisons. Paul's resume was stacked with hustle. By all accounts, he outworked most. But you know what he said in 1 Corinthians 15:10? By the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace to me was not without effect. No, I worked harder than all of them, yet not I, but the grace of God that was with me. Catch that. Paul owned his grind. He ain't downplay it. He said, I worked harder than all of them. But in the same breath, he shifted credit. It wasn't me, it was grace. That's the remix. The grind was real, but grace was the reason it worked. The hustle was heavy, but grace carried the weight. Here's what that means for us. Your effort matters, but grace multiplies it. You can plant seeds all day, but without grace, the soil stays dry. You can draft business plans, post content, chase clients, but without grace, doors stay closed. Grace is what breathes life into the hustle. It's the difference between laboring in vain and laboring with eternal impact. And peep this, Paul wasn't grinding to earn God's love. He already had it. He wasn't working to prove his worth. He already knew he was chosen. His grind flowed out of gratitude, out of grace. And that's why it bore fruit. Fam, the hustler's gospel ain't about working less. It's about working right. It's about stepping into your day knowing I'm going to give it all I got, but I ain't carrying it all alone. Grace walks beside you. Grace pushes behind you. Grace covers above you. And when grace fuels the grind, your hustle don't just produce, it prospers. Fam, if anybody had reason to grind nonstop, it was Jesus. Crowds following him everywhere. Sick folk begging for healing. Disciples asking questions. Pharisees looking to trap him. Needs everywhere, pressure constant. If hustle culture wrote his schedule, Jesus would have burned out in year one. But peep his rhythm. He worked with power, but he rested with purpose. Look at Mark 1:35. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. The same chapter where he healed crowds, cast out demons, and preached with fire. Grind was heavy, but before the next push, he paused. He refueled with the Father. That's grace in motion. Again in Luke 5:16. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Not sometimes. Not when convenient. Often. He knew miracles without margin lead to collapse. He knew hustle without heaven leads to burnout. So he built rest into the grind. And let's not forget, he even napped in storms. While his disciples panicked, Jesus slept in the boat. That's not laziness, that's confidence. He trusted the Father so deeply he could rest even when waves raged. That's the type of grace-filled grind we need, not panicked hustlers, but peaceful workers. Fam, Jesus shows us grinding ain't ungodly, but grinding without rest is. If the Son of God himself stopped to recharge, what make us think we can skip it? Rest ain't optional. It's obedience. It's part of the kingdom hustle. Work when it's time to work. Rest when it's time to rest. Let grace set the rhythm. So hear me, follow his model. Push hard, but pause often. Pour out, but also pull away. Give your best, but let grace refill you. 'Cause that balance don't just keep you sane, it keeps you fruitful. And that's what grace in the grind looks like. Fam, let's zoom in on Joseph. If anybody lived the grind, it was him. Sold by his brothers, dragged to Egypt, forced into slavery. And yet, wherever he landed, he worked with excellence. In Potiphar's house, he didn't just survive, he stewarded so well, Potiphar put everything under his hand. In prison, he didn't mope, he managed so faithfully the warden trusted him with responsibility. That's grinding with grace. See, Joseph's hustle wasn't optional, he had to work. But here's the key. Genesis 39 keeps saying, the Lord was with Joseph and he prospered. That's grace. He still labored, but God's hand multiplied it. And that favor followed him from the pit to the palace. Notice Joseph didn't get promoted just because he worked hard. Plenty of prisoners worked, plenty of slaves hustled, but Joseph carried grace, and that grace elevated his grind. It opened doors his resume never could. It placed him before Pharaoh at the exact moment his gift was needed. That's grace turning grind into glory. And here's the remix for us. Faithfulness in the grind matters, but it's grace that promotes. You can show up early, stay late, push hard, and you should. But don't get it twisted. Your breakthrough ain't just sweat equity. It's divine favor. Joseph's story proves it. Faithful grind positioned him, but grace propelled him. Fam, some of y'all feel stuck like Joseph in prison. You grinding, but nobody seeing. You hustling, but doors ain't opening. Hear this, God ain't forgot. Grace gonna take your hidden faithfulness and put it on display at the right time. And when it happens, it won't make sense to people. They'll look and say, how did they jump so fast? And the answer gonna be grace. So stay faithful, keep grinding, but keep your eyes on grace, because Joseph's life reminds us hard work gets noticed, but grace gets you promoted. Fam, let's talk marketplace hustle. Out here, everybody looking for an edge, networking, certifications, side hustles, late nights, and all that got its place. But here's the kingdom truth. Grace is the real competitive advantage. Grace puts you in rooms your resume didn't qualify you for. Grace makes your name circulate in circles you never stepped into. Grace unlocks contracts, clients, and connections hustle alone can't touch. Look at Daniel. Captive in Babylon, surrounded by folks with more training, more pedigree, more status. But Daniel 1:17 says, God gave them knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. That was grace. So, he still studied, still applied himself, but God's hand gave him wisdom that outshined the rest. And it was grace that elevated him to serve kings. Same with you. Grind matters, study, practice, sharpen your craft, but don't sleep on grace. Grace gonna whisper your name in boardrooms you ain't walked in. Grace gonna highlight your work to people who matter. Now, grace gonna do what LinkedIn endorsements and hustle slogans can't. It puts divine favor on natural grind. Here's the remix. Hustle culture says success is who you know. Kingdom says success is who knows you. When heaven co-signs your grind, doors swing open that hustle alone can't budge. You don't got to manipulate. You don't got to compromise. You don't got to sell out. Grace handles the overflow. Fam, this is the hustler's gospel. Show up, yes. Work hard, yes. But trust grace as your edge. Because grace gonna do in a moment what hustle might take decades to chase. And when you step back, you'll realize it wasn't just your grind that got you here. It was his hand on your grind. That's your advantage. That's your secret sauce. That's grace in the marketplace. Fam, let's bring Nehemiah into the room. This man was a cupbearer. His resume ain't scream builder. But when he heard Jerusalem's walls were broken down, something stirred in him. And with God's favor, he stepped into the grind. Brick by brick, plan by plan, prayer by prayer, he rebuilt what was broken. Now here's the wild part. Nehemiah didn't just face labor, he faced opposition. Enemies mocked him, haters plotted against him, threats rose up to stop him. But you know what he said in Nehemiah 6:3? I am carrying on a great project and cannot come down. That's focus. That's grinding with grace. He wasn't distracted by drama. He stayed on assignment and peeped the grace. Nehemiah ain't rebuild that wall because he was the best architect. He ain't do it because he had the most skilled crew. It was favor. God's hand was on his hustle. And what should have taken years got done in 52 days. That's what happens when grace fuels grind, results accelerate. Fam, Nehemiah's story is hustler's gospel in motion. He worked, he planned, he led, but he also prayed. He asked for God's hand before he touched the project. And that balance of grind plus grace made the impossible possible. So here's the lesson. Whatever wall you building, whatever dream you grinding for, whatever assignment God gave you, lock in like Nehemiah. Don't get pulled down by distractions. Don't let haters drag you into arguments. Keep your hands busy, but keep your heart dependent. Because when grace sits on your grind, results gon' speak louder than excuses. Nehemiah proves it. Focused grind, fueled by favor, finishes the mission. And that's exactly how you gon' win your hour. Fam, let's flip the scoreboard. Hustle culture says success is numbers. How much you make, how fast you grow, how busy you stay. But kingdom says success is faithfulness. Not how much you produce, but how steady you obey. Not how crowded your schedule is, but how aligned your steps are with God's assignment. Think about it. Busyness looks impressive, but it don't always mean impact. You can run around all day, stacking tasks, answering emails, filling calendars, and still not move closer to purpose. That's motion, not progress. That's activity without fruit. And Jesus ain't impressed by how frantic you look. He's watching if you faithful. Luke 16:10 says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. That means kingdom success starts with faithfulness in the small. How you handle the small grind decides if God can trust you with the big. You think Joseph woke up one day in the palace? Nah, he proved faithful in prison first. He stewarded what seemed beneath him, and grace elevated him. So here's the challenge. Stop equating busy with blessed. Stop wearing exhaustion like a trophy. Start asking, am I faithful? Faithful with my time, faithful with my gifts, faithful with my family, faithful with the opportunities God already gave. That's the real grind check. And peep this, faithfulness don't mean flashy. Sometimes it's showing up to work when you'd rather quit. Sometimes it's keeping integrity when nobody watching. Sometimes it's pushing through discipline when no applause follows. That ain't glamorous, but it's kingdom. And grace multiplies it into fruit. Fam, success in God's eyes ain't about busyness, it's about obedience. And when you let grace redefine your scoreboard, you stop playing for likes and start living for legacy. Fam, let's talk rhythm, because grind without rhythm is just noise. And the key to a grace-filled rhythm is simple. Pray before you plan. Before the emails, before the strategy, before the calendar, pause and place it in God's hands. That's how you keep your grind aligned with His grace. Too often, we do the opposite. We plan the whole week, then ask God to bless what we already decided. But that's backwards. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." Notice the order. You commit first, then He establishes. Prayer ain't the afterthought, it's the blueprint. Think about Nehemiah again. Before he even asked the king for resources, he prayed. Before he rallied builders, he prayed. Before he faced opposition, he prayed. Prayer was his first move, not his last resort. And that rhythm of pray before you plan is what brought grace on his grind. Fam, imagine how your hustle would shift if every meeting, every deal, every post, every pitch got covered in prayer first. Anxiety would shrink because you'd know God co-signed it. Pressure would ease because you'd know His hand was on it. Even the setbacks would feel lighter because you'd know grace was working in it. Here's the challenge. This week, don't just schedule tasks, schedule trust. Start your day asking, God, what's my assignment today? What should I build? Where should I focus? That small shift gonna save you from wasted grind. It gonna cut through distractions. It gonna keep your hustle fruitful instead of frantic. Fam, prayer is the anchor of the hustler's gospel. Pray before you plan, and grace gonna meet you in the grind every time. Fam, let's keep it real. Rest feels like rebellion in hustle culture. When the world chanting, grind harder, stay up later, outwork the next man, stopping to breathe looks weak. But in the kingdom, rest ain't weakness, it's warfare. It's holy resistance against a system that want to grind you into dust. Exodus 20 made rest a command. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. God ain't suggested, He commanded it. Why? Because He knew we'd try to worship work. He knew we'd idolize grind. So He built a rhythm. 6 days you labor, 1 day you rest. And when you honor that, you declare, I trust God more than my hustle. Fam, rest is not laziness. Rest is alignment. Rest says, my value ain't in constant motion. My value is in God's presence. Rest whispers, I don't need to control every outcome. Grace got it covered. And when you truly rest, you remind the enemy he don't own your schedule. God does. Think about Jesus. He napped in storms. He walked away from crowds just to sit with the Father. He let Lazarus stay in the tomb 2 more days before showing up. He wasn't rushing to prove nothing. He moved at heaven's pace. That's rest as holy resistance. Here's the challenge. This week, schedule your rest like you schedule your grind. Protect it, guard it, make it sacred. Turn off the noise, unplug from the hustle, sit with the Father, and let Him refuel you. Because real strength don't come from pushing past empty. It comes from pausing to be filled. Fam, grace in the grind don't just push you forward. It pulls you back to rest. And that rhythm keeps you whole. Commit to rest and watch how God multiplies your hustle without breaking your soul. Fam, let me leave you charged up before we close this hour. Your grind is not in vain. Every email sent, every shift worked, every brick laid, every idea planted, grace is on it. And when grace rides with your grind, the results gon' stretch further than you ever imagined. You might feel like you small in the marketplace. You might feel overlooked, unseen, unqualified. But let me remind you, grace is the great equalizer. It takes the last and puts them first. It takes the overlooked and makes them stand out. It takes your 2 fish and 5 loaves of effort and feeds 5,000 worth of destiny. That's how powerful grace is. So today, walk with confidence. When you step in that office, walk like grace opened the door. When you send that invoice, trust that grace gonna multiply it. When you post that content, believe grace gonna carry it where hustle alone never could. You're not grinding alone, you grinding with heaven's cosign. Here's the encouragement. Don't let small beginnings discourage you. Don't let delays make you doubt. Don't let comparison kill your momentum. If you stay faithful in the grind and lean on grace, the fruit gon' come. Not just money, not just platforms, not just clout, but joy, peace, stability, and purpose. That's the real win. Fam, grace multiplies your grind. So don't quit, don't fold, don't give up. Keep pushing, but keep praying. Keep hustling, but keep trusting. Keep moving, but keep resting in Him. Because when grace fuels your grind, the hustle don't just work, it works wonders. Fam, as we close out this 7 a.m. Hustlers Gospel block, let me remind you, today ain't about running yourself ragged trying to prove something. It's about grinding with grace. The world gon' clap for busyness, but heaven celebrates faithfulness. And you already know you can't outwork grace, but you can walk in it. So as you step into this day, shift your mindset. Don't let hustle culture set your rhythm, let grace set it. Hustle culture gon' scream, do more. Grace gon' whisper, do it with me. Hustle culture gon' weigh you down with comparison. Grace gon' lift you up with confidence. Hustle culture gon' drain you dry. Grace gon' fill you to overflow. Carry this truth with you. Your grind is sacred when it's surrendered. Your hustle is holy when it's wrapped in His presence. And the success that comes out of that, it ain't just wins on paper. It's fruit that lasts, peace that stays, joy that don't run out, favor that don't fade. So fam, grind, but grind different. Work, but work covered. Push, but push with purpose. Because when you let grace fuel your hustle, the grind don't grind you. The grind grows you. That's the hustler's gospel. That's the kingdom hustle. That's how you win without losing your soul. This ain't your Sunday school. This is YNB Spirituals. Book closed. Fam, it's 7 a.m.